this guy is a force of will type dude. Like, I mean, he is going to force things through, no matter what happens. He's another one that I did kind of break at one point too, but we put him back together again pretty good. What happened with Mejia is he was a guide at the time because I was full up around on staff and COs and officers.
And what was the date on this?
This was early Feb.
Feb.
When I just got to the unit, mid-Feb when I got to the unit. And so what I was watching is when we were doing those ranges late Feb, early March, you know, like whenever something would be truly jacked up, Luke Larson would turn to Sergeant Mejia, who was a guide. And like Sergeant Mejia, like when given a mission, like it didn't matter if you were a staff and CO or officer, like Sergeant Mejia was making shit go. Like he was running through people. And so I remember telling Luke, like, why don't we make Sergeant Mejia our police sergeant? And, you know, like knowing, like again, I'm the guy who reads the book. Like, you know, the police sergeant is senior sergeant in the freaking company. His responsibilities to the logistics of the company, you know, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, it sounds like Sergeant Mejia could do that. But I was like, I want him there because he's a company asset. But I want him, since he can force things to happen, since he just makes things go, I want him to be my fixed site security officer. He's responsible for the defense of, you know, this place.
Right.
And he was a perfect fit. Like that was what he was born to do. He became the mini gunner, like my company gunner,
right,
is what he was. He was my weapons expert. He forced things to happen. And because he's such a force of personality type guy, and because he only had that sole focus on looking at things from the enemy point of view, we outcycled things to a phenomenal point. Like, I had a sergeant who could lock on by himself, could lock on a brigade level asset, have it show up, set up a defense perfectly, and then go away. Like, that allowed me to function at a completely different level. I didn't lose an officer for it. I didn't lose an augmentation team commander. Like, augmentation team commander would go out and like supervise, tell Sergeant Mejia what he wanted and walk away. Same thing, like I would do the same thing. Like, Sergeant Mejia, I want X, Y, and Z. Show me your product back. That looks good. Change X, go back again. Like, okay, when they show up, do X, like bye. Like, there would be times when all of a sudden, like, engineers would be showing up at the base, but like, what the hell's going on? I'm putting in this new gate right now because I think it's needed. Like, you kidding me? That's badass. Good to go. Like, go do Y. And with his personality, you know, I mean, it was that way. Where I say I broke him is, you know, I mean, he had quite a few bases to do, and we had one incident where we wounded a civilian, and it was because we broke down a lot of our really good procedures. We got a little lazy, and like came down really hard. You know, I mean, it was my fault. Period. We came down on Sergeant Mejia, like, why aren't we doing X anymore? Why aren't we doing Y? Why aren't we doing Z? And like, he got broken there for about a week, like where he was tail between his legs. And his job was hard. I mean, his job was unbelievable. Like,
which week was that?
Oh man, that was probably like week 15. His job was unbelievably hard. I mean, he was doing a gunner's job and doing it well.
And we've heard that from Lieutenant Mejia that he was a mini gunner, so we kind of got a pretty fair characterization of that. And so we've addressed this. And I want to kind of start moving forward here a little bit. February 07, the conversation with Larson and Mejia at the range. And then March 07, you mentioned that Mejia was saying, that we want to act like cops.
Well, what happened there was, and I mean, I had been talking about acting like cops, and they knew they were going to work with the police. Sitting there late one night working, and Mejia says, hey, sir, all my squad leaders want to talk to you. So they come in my office, I give them all a beer, and we sit down and we're BSing. And, the one who leads it out is Sergeant Humphrey, who's unbelievable. And, well, we're thinking about it, sir, and, like, the cops come to this building every day to work, and then they got to go home, and, they could be threatened, they could have bad things happen, and we want to go home with them that night. And we want to live in their houses. I was like, okay.
And this is Sergeant Humphrey.
This is Sergeant Humphrey and all of his NCOs in Mejia there. Okay. And so, led by Mejia, in my personal opinion, all employed by him to show that his sergeants want to do this thing. And then he goes, how the hell, I'm like, hey, this means you guys get it. Like, you get it. You understand that we have to be with the people, and that's what I'm working on. Like, I'm working on how that's going to happen, because I don't know how to do it yet. But you got it. I cannot, right now as a commander, though, say, like, 2 of you go sleep in Yasser's house, 2 of you go sleep in fucking, Ahmed's house, 2 of you go sleep in, Ishmael's house, and I'll see y'all later. I can't do that like that. That risky an assessment for me as a commander is not there. But this was proof that his unit got it. Like, his unit understood and was, more than anything, like, willing to sacrifice. Like, willing to freaking give it all up. Like, I will go live with Iraqis. Like, I want to win this war. And this is a conversation, that Doug and I had at one time, which was, when you make risk gain assessments like this, you're not making a short risk gain assessment. Go back and parallel it to Major Schreffler, back then Captain Schreffler doing a night attack on range 400. You don't do something like that for personal glory or to get promoted in the Marine Corps. You do something like that to be a good unit. Because here's the thing, like, you want to get promoted, like, don't take any risk. You know what I'm saying? Do the small things well and you'll be fine. Like, you want to make a good unit, it takes risk. Like, here's the deal, like, putting 10 guys out on their own with 100 Iraqis, like, I'm incurring some massive risk. And I lost sleep over it, but, like, the gain to me was so phenomenal. It was so beyond battalion, company, regiment. Like, the gain, if I won, it was worth the risk. Like, the risk was 10 guys, and 10 guys that I take as much responsibility for as I do my children.
And was it more effective to have for Mahika to have his NCOs brief that to you?
It was effective in the sense that like, Mahika could come and tell me that, and be like, sure, officer. Having his guys come say it made me believe that he had made them believe it, which was important. Selling was everything to us. I say there are 3 different IO campaigns in the Marine Corps. There's the IO campaign against the enemy or to the people, however you want to say it. Then there's the IO campaign to your hire, and then the IO campaign to your Marines. And you have to fight all 3 just as effective.
And this is going to be something that, just kind of sorting some of this material, we'll use in chapter 2, which is training and deployment for OIF 1. But can you tell us a little bit about Major Schreffler's leadership in having Lima 37 go through a night attack, non-illuminated, at range 400, and how difficult that is, why it's dangerous?
And I'm well suited to do so, considering I've ran, I think, 7 non-illuminated company night attacks with IOC. He led the way for the infantry to change the way they operated at IOC. Okay, if you get a unit that can do that event, that unit believes there's nothing they can't do. Nothing. But it's a risk. I mean, it's a risk. So for him to develop a program and to make his Marines go through that and come out successful, like, he was doing it for those Marines. The little known fact is during the march up, and I don't know if you guys have heard this before, but they almost got tasked with a night attack, to infiltrate through, to attack backwards into one of the army units that they thought were stopping them. And he was the only one the battalion commander would trust to do it, because he was the only unit that had that type of training. He was incurring massive amounts of risk. He was doing what any good leader does, sacrificing his own personal gain for his Marines training.
And what are the details of doing a night attack with a rifle company? I mean, what individual skills?
Okay, back then especially, we got some little better technology now than what he had. The problem is a Marine on average, when he sets on his NVGs, has 20/70 vision. Okay? Unless he's well trained to know how to do that. And most people don't have that type of, that level of training. So to incur that risk right there was pretty damn crazy. Give me just a second here. Yeah, get